Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to address the question, what is better than an IRA or 401k or a Roth IRA or 401k? I've been a financial strategist for more than 45 years, and I've never owned an IRA or 401k or a Roth, never will. My favorite vehicle is what some CPAs and tax attorneys refer to as the rich man's Roth. And I snicker because you don't have to be rich to own one. So let me tell you the difference in this episode, and you're going to be blown away with opportunities that maybe you didn't even know existed before. I've addressed many audiences, probably spoken over 85,000 hours in my life, educating people, both the general public and also professionals like CPAs and tax attorneys. And when I share with them what I'm going to share with you in this particular educational episode, they sit there and they go, oh my heavens, I've been advising my clients wrong for 30, 40 years. And I said, well, maybe not wrong, but you didn't know what was best. And as I explain, good, better, best. Never let it rest until good gets better, better gets best. So many times I'll ask my audiences questions like, well, do you think future tax rates will likely be lower? I get nothing but crickets. Okay, like, well, no, I don't think so. How many think tax rates are going to stay the same? And I get a few hands in an audience. But when I ask, how many of you think future taxes are going to be higher? A sea of hands goes up. Do you think because of irresponsible government spending and the printing of money, taxes are going to have to be higher in the future? So again, I ask, well then why do you want to defer paying tax on an IRA or 401k and have it accumulate into this big nest egg and then withdraw it when we're convinced taxes are going to be higher? So do you know that Congress actually figured that out? There were a lot of savvy people that said, yeah, that's not the smart thing to do. I'd rather have my money be tax-free when I retire. Let's just get the taxes over and done with in today's brackets, which are usually lower, and put in after-tax money. Well, a lot of people started doing that, but unfortunately, only about 9% of Americans understand this. 91% are still duped into putting money into yet-to-be-taxed IRAs or 401ks, defer, thinking they're going to be in a lower bracket, and they're not. In 1997, the government was actually hard up for money. And even though this may be beneficial, they didn't do it for us. They came up with the idea of a Roth. Now, where did that name come from? It was Senator Harry Roth, and he said, I got an idea. Savvy people are realizing it's better to pay tax, put in after-tax money into an account, an IRA or 401k, and let's have it grow tax-free, and then later they can access it tax-free because they realize they would rather have retirement with no tax. And he said, we'll name it after me, okay? Roth. So the Roth IRA was the first, and then the Roth 401k. Now, the reason why I don't care for Roths, and I've never owned one and never will, is because they have too many strings attached. My favorite vehicle that I teach in our educational seminars, webinars, and all of these series here, and the 11 books that I've written, is what CPAs and tax attorneys sometimes refer to as the rich man's Roth. But you don't have to be rich to own one. I call it the laser fund, and that's the title of my most recent book. If you click on the episode that I recommend at the end of this, you can actually get a free copy if you'd like mailed to you. But I'm going to share with you the 3 advantages that the rich man's Roth, the laser fund, has that a traditional Roth does not. First, what advantages does a Roth have? When you put money into a Roth IRA or 401k, you're putting in after-tax money, but it grows tax-free, and when you take it out, it's tax-free. Now, hopefully that stays true in Australia when their equivalent of the Roth, when the country got into trouble, they actually said, oh, sorry, we were kidding. and they decided to tax people who had more than 100,000 or whatever. They said, oh, you're accumulating too much money, so we're going to tax you now because we need the money to save this country. Now, do you know that our government at the time under the Obama administration was that close to doing the same thing in this country? So that doesn't mean that the government can't give and then take it away, but let's assume it stays. That's the two benefits of a Roth. Now, my rich man's Roth, and by the way, it's been around long before Roths have, grandfathered in the Internal Revenue Code for over 100 years, that allows you to be able to accumulate your money tax-free and then access your money tax-free, including all the gain that you made. And when you die, it blossoms in value. It increases, it doubles or triples many times and transfers income tax-free. Municipal bonds don't do that. Roths do not do that. So let me give you an example. In my particular laser fund, the Rich Man's Roth, I have three advantages. First of all, if I have a banner year in my business, I can actually put in $100, $200, or $300,000 into my laser fund. You can't do that with a Roth. You can only put in a certain dollar amount or a certain percent of your income. If there's any big lump sums, it has to be a rollover from a traditional IRA or 401k, triggers tax. You have to pay the tax, and then it goes into the Roth. But other than that, you can't put in large amounts. Not only that, in my Rich Man's Roth, if I need access for emergency funds, let's say a setback or whatever, I could put in $200,000 or $300,000, and I could go in and withdraw in 4 days after I deposited that money and withdraw $250,000, and it doesn't trigger any penalties. You can't do that in a Roth. You have to wait 5 years or till you're 59 and a half. There's too many strings attached. So you can't put in large lump sums, and if you could, you can't go in and grab the money back in a few days if you had a need. I can do that in my laser fund, but a Roth will never do this. If I died on the freeway, let's say, and I got in an accident, every million I have in my laser fund, the Rich Man's Roth, would instantly, at my current age, blossom to $2.5 million and transfer totally income tax-free to my wife, my kids, my grandkids, anybody I leave behind to. There's not a Roth around that will double or triple in value like that. And people always ask me, well, how does it do that? What does that cost? I go, nothing. It's being paid for with a minuscule portion of money that most Americans shell out in unnecessary income tax. If you want to know how and why, I'm going to show you how you can learn more, and I would recommend you get a copy of my most recent book, The Laser Fund, and I'll send it to you free. And I want to encourage you to watch this episode on how to protect your money, your income, from unnecessary tax. But then in that, there will be an opportunity where you can go to my website, and I'll send you a copy of the book so you can understand all the nitty-gritty, and you can even watch an 18-hour master class where we spend about an hour on a deep dive on every one of the concepts in that book.